Hey there folks, it's Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and over the next 2 days I will be unboxing and then upgrading the Eldrazi Unbound Commander precon from the Commander Master set that was released in August of 2023. Today's video will be the unboxing of the precon, where I'll show you everything that comes in the box, including the deck card by card, and then tomorrow I will release the upgrade guide where I'll show you some options on what I believe you should take out and add back in to help make the deck play a little better. This precon, I believe, is the very first colorless precon as of the making of this video, and the only one that exists until Modern Horizons 3 releases. It suggests using Zhulodok Void Gorger as the commander, so let's look at that real quick. Zholodok is 1 colorless and 5 generic mana to cast for a 7/4 legendary Eldrazi, with an ability that says colorless spells that you cast from your hand with a mana value of 7 or greater have Cascade. What that means is, when you cast a spell with a mana value of 7 or more from your hand only, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost, then put the other exiled cards on the bottom of your library in a random order, then do it again. It's pretty obvious that this is an Eldrazi tribal/typal themed deck, but what I don't know is whether or not there's more than just that to it, so let's open her up and see what's in the box. So here is what the outside of the box looks like. It's the Eldrazi Unbound precon. It is the only one right now up until Modern Horizons 3 comes out that is colorless completely. Has the picture of Zholodok on the outside, and then on the back it says the Void of Mercy and has the name of the commander. So let's open her up and show you everything that comes inside. Alright, so it comes with counters on the top. This one has charge counters, +1/+1 counters on the side, and then of course we have the really nice divider that I like. Here's what the outside of the box looks like. Just colorless. And then everything else inside is what we're really interested in seeing, so let's go through all that. Divider for shipping purposes, life wheel, which is generic. We have the insert, which will actually have a cool picture on it of Zholodok, I'm sure. Can't get it open. There we go. So it does. Has a little bit about the deck. And then how to play the deck, and then the extra commander rules. So let's put this aside. This doesn't really do anything unless, of course, you're a new player and you really want to collect all the little stuff. I use these as dividers, too. Alright, so Commander Masters Collector's Booster Sample Pack. We will get that in a second. And of course, we've got the deck, which is what everybody's here for. So let's open the sample pack up and see if we get anything cool. Let's zoom and take a look. All right. First one is a Hatchery Sliver, extended art or borderless. It's actually not borderless, it's extended art. And then the next one is a foil Path of Ancestry, which isn't bad because I do use this. So put them aside for now and get to it on the deck. Let's take the cellophane or plastic wrap off, whatever it's made out of, if I can. And I'll show you everything that's inside. Throw that out. Split the deck in half to make it easier to go through. All right. So I showed you what Zholodok does, so we can skip that for now and go to the secondary commander. So this is Omarthus Ghostfire Initiate. He costs double X. What that means is that if you declare 3 as the X, you have to pay 3 twice, because that's what X twice means. And then when he enters the battlefield, he enters with X +1/+1 counters. And then whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on another colorless creature, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Omarthus. I'm not sure I'm saying that name right, though. All right, and then the last one is when Omarthus dies, manifest a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of counters on it. So, I mean, it's not an Eldrazi, so that's kind of concerning, but it does go with colorless creatures. For the rest of the deck, we have a Burnished Heart for some good ramp. I use that in a lot of budget decks. Geode Golem, 5 to cast, 5/3 with Trample. And then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from the command zone without paying its mana cost, which is absolutely bonkers, actually. Meteor Golem, that's a reprint. Lightning Greaves, good protection for your commander or anything that you want to keep on the board. A Soul Ring, a Thought Vessel, which is very nice of them to put in here. A Thran Dynamo, Unstable Obelisk, a Reliquary Tower, a Rogue's Passage, an Artisan of Kozilek, Bane of Balaged, Quasi, I guess, because whenever it attacks, defending player exiles 2 permanents they control, which is kind of close to Annihilator, but it's not. It's actually a little bit better in some ways because you exile the permanent instead of having them sacrifice it. Not of This World. It's a colorless Eldrazi tribal instant. Spatial Contortion. Titan's Presence. Warping Whale, so all the colorless spells. Crashing Drawbridge, makes all your creatures gain haste. Dreamstone Hedron. Everflowing Chalice, actually not bad. There's no Proliferate, I'm sure, in this deck, but it is a possibility to have this tap for multiple amounts of mana, so that's not bad. Fire Shrieker. Hedron Archive. Mind Stone. Ornithopter of Paradise. Palladium Mirror. Scare Tiller. Suspicious Bookcase. A Worn Power Stone, lots of mana rocks. Arcane Lighthouse, it's actually interesting. Until end of turn, creatures that your opponents control lose Hexproof and Shroud and can't have Hexproof or Shroud. It's kind of an interesting addition. Kozilek, the Great Distortion, one of the Titans. Abstruse Archaic is a 4-cast 3/4 Avatar with Vigilance, and then it has an activated ability where you pay 1 and tap it to copy target activated or triggered ability that you control from a colorless source, and you may choose new targets for the copy. Mana abilities, it says, can't be targeted either. Calamity of the Titans. So 2 colorless, that's what that symbol means. It has to be from a colorless source. It cannot be generic mana. And then 4 generic mana for a sorcery that says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, reveal a colorless creature card from your hand. Then you exile each creature and planeswalker with a mana value less than the revealed card's mana value. So if you reveal a 5 mana value card, anything 4 or less on the board gets exiled. Desecrate Reality, so it's a 7-cast colorless instant. For each opponent, exile up to 1 target permanent that player controls with an even mana value. And then it has Adamant. If at least 3 colorless mana was spent to cast this spell, return a permanent card with an odd mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that's actually kind of good. Flare of Loyalties, so another 2 colorless specifically, and then 8 generic for a 10/10 Eldrazi that says, when you cast a spell, you gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, and until end of turn, its base power and toughness is 10/10, and gains Trample, Annihilator 2, and Haste. And it itself has Annihilator 2 and Trample. Rise of the Eldrazi costs 3 colorless and then 9 additional generic. This spell can't be countered, and it destroys target permanent, and target player draws 4 cards. Take an extra turn after this one, and then you exile it. Skittering Cicada, so a 3-cast 2/2. That's an insect with flash, so it can be cast as if though it was an instant, or anytime you could cast an instant. And then you may cast color spells as though they had flash. And then whenever you cast a color spell until end of turn, the Cicada gains Trample and +X/+X, where X is that spell's mana value. So not an Eldrazi, but pretty good. Ugin's Mastery, so a 4-cast enchantment. Colorless enchantment. I don't think I've seen anything like that before. And says, whenever you cast a colorless creature spell, manifest the top card of your library. And it says what manifesting does there if you want to read it. And then whenever you attack with creatures with total power of 6 or greater, you may turn a face-down creature that you control face up. Darksteel Monolith. It's an indestructible 8-cast artifact that says once each turn you may pay 0 rather than the mana cost for a colorless spell that you cast from your hand. That's big. That's really big. All is Dust. Naturally, it's a tribal sorcery Eldrazi, and it's 7 to cast, and it says each player sacrifices all permanents that they control that are 1 or more colors. Endbringer, 1 card less than 5 for a 5/5, and then it untaps itself during each other player's end step, or each untap step. It lets you draw a card. It says target creature can't attack or block this turn, or deals it damage. Endless one. That betrays. It's actually a pretty good reprint. It's not a Titan, but it's the closest thing to a Titan. Matter Reshaper. Oblivion Sower. Ooh, Ugin the Ineffable. It's not the good Ugin, but it's not bad. I use it in some of my decks. Ancient Stone Idol. Duplicant. Endless Atlas. This is one of my favorite cards. It's 2 to cast artifact, and you can pay 2 and tap it to draw a card, but you can only activate it if you control 3 or more lands with the same name. So that's actually not horrible in monocolor decks. It gets a little sketchy on 2 color decks, and then after that, it starts to get a little more sketchy. Forsaken Monument, naturally. Hangerback Walker. Investigator's Journal. Cauldra Complete. Mazemind Tomb. Metalwork Colossus. Mirage Mirror, that's a pretty good reprint for this. Myriad Construct. Second half of the deck. The first card on here is actually a pretty good one. I like this one a lot. It's called Mystic Forge. I like it because it actually helps you cast stuff from the top of your library, specifically artifacts, which is my favorite way to play, is using artifacts most of the time. I do a lot of blue decks that are artifact heavy. Perilous Vault, don't recognize it, could be a reprint, might not be. I'll read it. It's 4 to cast for an artifact that you pay 5 and tap it, and exile it to exile all non-land permanents. Phyrexian Triniform. Sadbot, or Solemn Simulacrum. Soul of New Phyrexia. Steel Hellkite. Stone Coil Serpent. Transmogrifying Wand. It's an interesting choice to throw in here. Arch of Araska. Good for card draw. Blast Zone. Good removal in a land. Bonder's Enclave. You definitely should have this one. It helps you draw cards if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. I don't see any issues with that in this deck. Gyro Reach Sanitarium. Mirror Pool. Ruins of Orin Reef. Scavenger Grounds. Seagate Wreckage. There it is. I was wondering if this was going to be in there. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods. Tyrite Sanctum. Imagine having a God Eldrazi. War Room. So they included all 3 of the lands that help you draw cards repeatedly. Eldrazi Temple. I'm wondering if they're going to have the other Eldrazi land. I highly doubt it. Forge of Heroes. That was in last week's precon that I opened. Guildless Commons. Majoring Network. Temple of the False God. Tomb of the Spirit Dragon. Ooh, are they going to have the entire Urzatron in here? So we've got the mine, we've got the power plant, and there it is, all 3 for the Urzatron. Urza's Tower. Then we're going to have wastes, which I got to be honest with you, I will go over something better that you should do in the upgrade guide. So, a bunch of wastes, which the name says it all. The thick version of Zholodok. And then, of course, our tokens. So we've got Thopter Token, Spirit, Manifest, a bunch of them. City's Blessings, Phyrexian Golems. What else we got? What is on the other side? We got Ox tokens for the Transmogrifying Wand, Constructs, Phyrexian Germs, Eldrazi Scions, and Constructs. And that, my friends, is what is in the Eldrazi Unbound Commander Masters Commander Precon. I'm not gonna lie. The price people are asking for this precon is unjustified to say the least. Aside from a few cards exclusive to this deck, and maybe a handful of reprints, this deck isn't really worth the price tag. For a deck called Eldrazi Unbound, I was expecting a lot more than just 10 measly Eldrazi creatures, and of those 10, at least a few more could have been actual good ones from previous sets. I mean, come on, 1 Titan and it's easily the worst one? What a joke. I understand that a lot of the good Eldrazi are $20 or even more, and including any of them would have made this precon impossible to get a hold of, even more so than it was. But there had to be a middle ground that would have made this precon worth the price. Hell, even a lot of the non-Eldrazi stuff were subpar for the price tag. Hopefully the Modern Horizons 3 Eldrazi deck is better than this one. Speaking of making a better deck, don't forget to come back tomorrow where I'll be releasing an upgrade guide for this deck. Before you get too excited though, I will mention the Titans, but none of them will be a suggestion to add due to their monetary value. I try my best to keep my suggestions below $20 per card unless it's really needed, and even then I try and limit it to only 1 or 2 cards. Don't worry though, what I have put together will definitely make this deck way better, so be sure to join me tomorrow for that. Well folks, that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching, and if you're looking for more content to watch, please browse my playlists as I'm sure you'll find a lot more of my videos that you'll enjoy. Have a nice day, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.